Hello, music multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. I'm your host, Mark Kuligowski. It's time for Panelists' favorite show, and tonight it's albums from the year 2000. Before we get into it, if you're here again, thank you very much. If you're new to our little appreciation channel, in music, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes. Thank you, Tony Todd. Have you subscribed yet? Well, you should. We love comments. Do you like Phil Collins? I've been a big Genesis fan since the release of their 1990 album Duke. Before that, I really didn't understand their work. Too artsy, too intellectual. It was on Duke that Phil Collins' presence became more apparent. I think Invisible Touch is the group's undisputed masterpiece. It's an epic meditation on intangibility. Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you're here? Then click the like button, please. The year 2000, Metallica files a lawsuit against peer-to-peer Napster. Prince says I was a symbol. Now I'm back to Prince. And finally, it was the end for Genesis. It was the end for Screaming Trees. It was the end for Rage Against the Machine. And it was also the sort of end of Smashing Pumpkins, although we all know they return. My panelists tonight, my wife, Sue Kuligowski, joining.
Hello.
Sue, how was the year 2000 for you?
Musically or otherwise?
Both. Hey, why not?
As I recall, it wasn't such a bad year. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. So we'll
The
just
world
say
didn't end. It was the year, it was the year.
Y2K, right, or whatever. Yeah, we survived another end of the world. Music-wise, when I was looking into this, at first I thought, oh, I don't really know. And then I realized, oh, there were actually a lot of really good albums that came out in 2000. And I know you're probably not gonna agree. Well, you might not have the same opinions on the albums that I chose. But yeah, they brought me back to the year, so that's all that matters.
I agree. There was a lot. There was a lot to choose from. Absolutely.
There was a lot. So I have a lot of alternative albums that I may have picked otherwise, but
yep. So I'm also gonna, before I do mine, I will read Dam's pick, Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney. She did send them in. She was unfortunately delayed in an airplane situation. We thought maybe the Grateful Dude would join us from Scotland, but apparently 4 a.m. is not his wake-up call. So without further banter, movie quotes, or screaming from me, I will let Sue give us her number 5.
All right. So my number 5, I went kind of poppy, and I chose Whoa Nelly by Nelly Furtado. The album, I kind of called it like radio ready hooks. There's a lot of imagery, creative wordplay. I think she was fun. She was relatable. Her song, I'm Like a Bird, that won her a Grammy for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. And I think just about everybody everywhere sang it at one time or another. It was probably huge at karaoke. Was karaoke a thing in 2000?
I think it's always been a thing. It just depends where you are.
So that, that was a song. Other songs on the album that I remember was Turn Off the Light, Bleep on the Radio, Hey Man. Fun fact about this album was that there was a standard release, and then there was an international release with a bonus song, which I was actually going to listen to. I didn't get a chance to. There was a European release, a Japanese release, a UK, an Asian, and assorted other expanded bonus and sample editions. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's like a normal procedure, but and all of them had some slight changes to them. So again, it's just a poppy fun album. I know you liked her too way back when. Uh, and probably a lot more deeper albums that, you know, could have made my top 5, but I just went with my gut. So that's it.
Yeah.
Whoa, no.
Yeah. So I want to say the reason for the international kind of play is she's Portuguese.
Hmm.
So but she's Canadian. So
Yeah.
I think that might have been some of the popularity in that.
Yeah.
And of course, anything that has more of a dance motif to it is going to get more international play and releases. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's good. I remember that came out. It was quite successful. The album to me, it was on my list a little bit further back in the 30s, but
Hmm.
yeah, it left an impression. I thought she was going to get better as time went on. I'm not quite sure. I follow as much as possible. I have the albums, but I don't play them.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah. All right. So hey, Deb's first pick is Disturbed Sickness, which was their debut.
Oh,
She
wow.
said she just remembers being at the gym, and that was quite the workout song. So that was her number 5.
Forgot about them.
So my number 5 starts with the Verve's frontman, Richard Ashcroft, who finally decided to pull a sting and go solo. Melancholy expert in adult contemporary rock genre. So that album is called Alone with Everybody. Very sentimental, very smooth. Um, yeah, I just remember playing the hell out of that and being able to hear it in the record stores too, because back then the record stores couldn't play whatever they wanted to play, kind of. They didn't want to offend anybody in the record store. So that was quite an album to get played again and again. There were a lot of those type of albums around that era, and I'll speak to that in a little bit. So my number 5 is Richard Ashcroft, Alone with Everybody.
All right.
Year 4.
Number 4 is okay. So you mentioned them in your opening. I chose Renegades, Rage Against the Machine. Um, you know, again, I'm sure people look at me and they don't think that I'm into this kind of music, but I think they're awesome. Every time I see that they're coming around a concert, I always want to go, but their tickets are always really highly priced. Um, so this was a covers album,
Yep.
which is kind of cool for I think for a band like that to take those on. And if you know Rage Against the Machine, they have their own unique, unmistakable sound from vocals and on. So, um, also about the Rage, I don't know, there's something about their timing that's, I think, is really awesome and distinctive. And I'm glad that they didn't hold back in doing covers. I think sometimes people are afraid to, and they don't want to veer too far off, but these are completely Rage songs. But they're covers. And so some of the songs on the album, obviously Renegades of Funk. I'm sure just about everybody on the planet's heard that. And originally by Africa Bambaataa. Maggie's Farm is a good one. Originally performed by Bob Dylan. How Could I Just Kill a Man? Cypress Hill, Ghost of Tom Joad. Was it? I can't remember now.
The
But
Ghost of Tom Joad.
that was a
That is
Bruce
Bruce
Springsteen.
Springsteen.
And then another one was Street Fighting Man, Rolling Stones. It's just a really good album to listen to, and um, they're another one of those bands that they're just timeless. So even with covers that came out way well before, so that's my number 4.
Okay. So Deb's number 4 is PJ Harvey's Stories from the City and Stories from the Sea.
Mhm.
I had to have this in front of me so I would remember the title. She's a unique voice. I believe Deb's comment is she loved her voice because it reminded her of Chrissy Hine and the Pretenders.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, Harvey has always been a solo artist. although she does a lot with John Parrish. This is a very good record, probably in the top 3 records that she's made. I'm still partial to the one with the jump back in and give me my daughter something about the water, or top of my head. Yeah, so that was her number 4. My number 4 is a 1-album, 1-time band, and that is Snake River Conspiracy's Sonic Jihad. Now, if you know this is basically techno post-techno noise rock. One of the comments I think that I loved about this is someone said it's a journey lyrically and musically through the human emotions. It represents the triumph of passion over technology, but anger has never been so much fun or so approachable. The members of the band, if I'm not mistaken,
I do not remember this.
was Reprise Records. They were it did well on the UK side, and it wound up at number 7 on some of the charts. But they went through members in just that short period of time to try to get things done. So really, it was a 1-album wonder. Yeah, one hit, but it's not even a hit. They didn't, they had Vulcan was the one airplay they really got, was the name of the song. So it was just a project of Eric Valentine and Jason Slater, a former member of Third Eye Blind. So after forming the band, he hired Toby Torres to be the band's singer. She's got a great voice. I don't know if I can follow as to where she wound up, but the band was initially signed to Interscope in 1998 because of the demo, but then all kind of focus and issues started to happen at that point. So, but Vulcan was released on October 5th of 99 as a single, and it was actually single of the week in British Music Magazine. And then Sonic Jihad debuted on July 11th of 2000. And the band found moderate success in the United States with their cover of How Soon Is Now by the Smiths, which got some chart playing stuff. So I really like the record. It was something at the time that was a little bit different. I don't want to mention some of the bands because they might get mentioned on the show, but right in that line of Richard Ashcroft, there was a lot of mellow adult contemporary bands and singers of the time. And then this was, and still electronica, this post noise thing was coming along. It's almost like Portishead had gotten angrier or something like that, so that's my number 4. A little bit too much explaining there, I guess. So your number 3.
My number 3, All That You Can't Leave Behind, U2. It was their 10th studio album. This one was probably best known for Beautiful Day. That one dominated the airwaves forever, and I think still does. It got some mixed reviews, but overall it did really well. A lot of people said that it was kind of a return to more of their classic sound, coming off of some electronica, like dance type music. So I'm not that much of a YouTube connoisseur that I would know that for sure, but I just liked it. It's a solid listen. Other than Beautiful Day, I would say that's pretty much an iconic song. Walk On is another great one. And it's uplifting. It's, I think encouraging. Elevation, energetic, Stuck in a Moment. There's another one on there, and when I was looking through, Peace on Earth. And I don't know if Sinead O'Connor was a part of that or not. I saw her name. I didn't get a chance to really follow up on it, but I did search around a little bit, and that's one of those songs that melody-wise and instruments, I really enjoyed it, and there's a really great live kind of version of it where the instrumentation goes on for a long time. The lyrics are just very simple, and I hate to ever say that because I mean they're very powerful lyrics, but I feel like sometimes they can get in the way of a song, if that makes sense. But anyway, um, overall, I really like the album, and it's kind of cool in my opinion. You know, after 10 years, they were still going strong and still creative, and then it just kind of springboarded them on to what came next. So
Yeah, it was a turning point of going back a little bit instead of and removing sort of the Brian Eno
hmm
mojo going on, or I know that Daniel Lanois was involved in Octung Baby and probably Zooropa
yeah, I
to
think
some
so.
degree, but yeah. I do. Their albums are always good. There's always something about it that you find a piece of the songwriting is always really good. Sometimes the
hmm
melodies you're like, okay, tired, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they can go on for a while.
Yeah. But I
Mhm.
remember Daniel Lanois' comment on Rick Beato's interview with him. He said that the microphone loves Bono's voice, just eats it up. Says I don't know
Yeah,
how he does it, but depending on it, it just eats it up.
it's a nice. He's got a nice voice. Very nice voice.
Very nice. Number 3 for Deb is Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. And her reason behind this was the first time her daughter got involved in loving a piece of an album, so she got into it as well. And I think, well, we know a shit ton of people did as well. I can't remember how many times platinum it probably is, but
That was her first album.
no, number 2.
What was her first one? Or you don't know?
Uh, it was the year before. Um, now you're gonna make
Oh,
me look at it.
hit me, baby, one
Hit
more
me, baby,
time.
one more time. Yes.
Okay, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Because when she said that, I went, oh my gosh, did I forget somebody that I might have had on my list? Not story for another time.
Yeah.
But that person released their album the same year in '99. So
Hmm.
okay. So
Oh,
let's see. My
I think
number.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably everybody else does too. My number 3 was, well, it was close. But I cannot deny this is not the band's best album. But at the time, it was, it was their first album. Um, and that's Coldplay's Parachutes. All right. This is the start and the simple, as it should be. Is it as good as their sophomore record? No. The sophomore record, A Rush of Blood to the Head, is nearly a masterpiece. But it's a significant songwriting and the art of a common vocal and what it can do in the hands of lyricism, and a band that didn't overstep, just parachute and connect, right? Then all of a sudden Brian Eno and all this other stuff, and you're all full of your own head or whatever, and stardom. They probably put on great live shows. I've never seen them live. I've seen them
hmm
on TV live,
Yeah,
but
they do look good.
if I was going to see them, if they played any of that stuff after XY or YZ or whatever, I'm probably going to be severely disappointed. There's a few here and there, but they ran out and did some too over the top pop stuff when simple works best for me.
Mhm.
So that is my number 3. Over to you for your number 2.
Number two is gonna be Spiritual Machines by Our Lady Peace,
Ooh.
Canadian band. Uh, why this album? I think, well, the song Life, I think, wins it over for me. I mean, sometimes even just one song on an album is enough to make it an incredible album, in my opinion. Um, but this one came out in December of that year, and like they typically do, I think, kind of rock with electronic and some experimental kind of sounds and effects. I don't know what they are because I'm not a musician, but um, if you don't know who they are, I would call them a smart band. Their lyrics are smart, their sound is smart. This particular album, uh, it leans towards kind of like a a spiritual journey, maybe. A lot of it's asking questions. It's dealing with human emotion. Kind of something cool about it is the album title comes from Ray Kurzweil's The Age of Spiritual Machines, When Computers Exceed Human Intelligence. So it's kind of a comparison of humanity versus technology. And here we are today, what is it, 2023, and we've got AI going on and huge debates about how it all works together. And so it's kind of a good time maybe to go back and listen to this one again. But basically, it explores a lot of different relationships, and Life again is another iconic song. It's reflective, melodic. It's got great lyrics. Is it super deep? I don't know. It is super deep, but the lyrics are pretty simple. They're easy to sing along to. But it's powerful the way that he delivers it. So, other songs on it that are great: All My Friends, Are You Sad, Right Behind You, and In Repair. That one, it's haunting. It's again, the vocals are right on and the lyrics are strong. So, Our Lady Peace, another one of those Canadian bands that I don't know how well they did in the States. I didn't look to see, but um another good solid album.
Yeah, didn't do well in the States, except for across our little border. It is a concept record for sure. It was probably slightly misunderstood. There are 4 great songs on there, as they usually never miss at least 3 to 4 they have that are bangers.
Were all the ones I mentioned ones
Yeah,
that
you mentioned them
considered?
all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in Repair. And what it is Rain's voice
Hmm.
works with that computerized concept of AI or your human emotion versus spiritual emotion, or whatever they're trying to do there.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the other day, because they obviously last year, was it last year or was it the year before, they did Spiritual Machines 2.
Hmm.
Okay, and nope, nope, nope. I understand the idea should have been now because of AI and all that, but his vocal can't do some of those things anymore. We
Right.
all age, and
Mhm.
I still love the band. Don't get me wrong, nothing against them. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite bands out of Canada, probably. Still have one of the best debut albums of all time, in my opinion. But yeah, that one's always a hard sell because of the stuff in between, the soliloquies and the computerized voicing and stuff, to try to make it a Pink Floydian type of experience through their eyes, not copying anything Pink Floyd would have. So yeah, great pick. It was on my list. I think it's quite a ways down though. It's still, that album is, I gotta go listen again. Maybe it's growing on me. So we're at number 2. Deb's was Rage Against the Machines, Renegades. She just said you just can't, that it's just so funky, and you can't, they're unmistakable. So my number 2. Oh, let's see. I wanted to start this off something because I think people forget about this band, and I kind of forgot how much of a, I hate overusing the term masterpiece, but when you come up with something that's been done or overdone and do it better than that, it's hard. And I don't even think they tried this. And when I say they, it's technically one man, but he's, and that's Songs from an American Movie, Volume 1, Everclear. This was a damn finest pop record made in the 2000s. It was dark songs set to fantastically fast up-tempo rhythms and music, true to the hear and the ear, and to the vocals that brought them out. Finely produced, and has all kinds of rock and art pop to tickle all kinds of fancies. And it has one of the greatest covers ever done, which is Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. Why I can't think of the guy's name who's the lead singer of Everclear at the moment. I don't want to, take up time, but I think he had a very wonderful grasp of how his life, his emotion, and his upbringing, and how things went for him, how dark they were, and how he was able to bring it out in a different kind of way. Instead of being depressed about it, it's still depressed, but it's a faster emotive. I mean, I love the way it starts out. It is a concept record, basically. I just want to make sure that,
It was a good album. I remember listening to it quite a bit.
yeah. Obviously there was a part 2 that came out later in the year, or was the next year, right after. Volume 1 was actually called Learning How to Smile, and songs from an American movie. Here We Go Again. AM Radio was a big hit. Brown Eyed Girl cover. Wonderful. Everything is Wonderful Now. That was like the #1 hit. I think it made #1 for weeks on end. But my favorite one is Unemployed Boyfriend. I thought that was just hilarious.
I remember that one. Yep.
So Art Alexakis was
All right.
the vocalist, songwriter, banjo, steel guitar, percussion,
An
and the
awesome name.
co-producer. Yeah, he actually has done his own records, and he's done some of these songs acoustically and made them different a couple of times over. That's how good some of this stuff is. So, yeah, that's my number 2.
Good pick. Good pick.
Your number 1.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder, but
Uh-oh.
I went with Parachutes Coldplay. And they are a band that I always kind of wanted to see live because I think that I don't want to say, this sounds bad. I just picked them as my #1 album, but I do understand what you mean. Like, it can lose a little bit of steam maybe coming across the airwaves, but I have a feeling in person, it's a completely different experience. They do have a great energy. And that album was so creative. For me, like, yes, it's somber, but like listening to it again, not somber like bring you down. It's just very chill. It's melodic, it's introspective, I almost would say like their songs sound like feelings. If that makes
Sound
any
like what?
sense. Sounds like their songs sound like feelings, like,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
literally hit hit on the nerves in that way. Um, and I think you said it was kind of simple, and I would agree. But again, maybe like with life, they're simple, but sometimes that's all you need to go to that emotional depth. So I just like them. I like their sound. I like his voice. I like how the music backs him up. And yeah, so that's kind of why I picked it. I'm trying to think. I tend to go for these albums that are kind of poetic when it comes to lyrics, and Parachutes was great. Shiver, he had some good guitar in it. I think Yellow, of course. I say, well, no, that's not the right song. I want to say Colleen and Jeff danced to one of their songs at their wedding.
Oh, yes, but that's from XY.
Yeah, yeah,
Fix You.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So, We Never Change was another one. High Speed. Really, there were so many good songs on that album. So
Yeah.
that's why I went with it. I think it was just perfect for that year, for that time when they came out with it. So good on them. And I agree. I agree, but I disagree. I did like their follow-up albums, but um definitely that was probably the best of the bunch. So Parachutes.
Cool. So Deb's number 1 is Coldplay's Parachute.
Oh,
Who
Patrick.
would Hey. So two number 1s and a number 2. Um, all right. So how do I tell you my number 1?
How do you
Yeah, so
say it?
This 16 song collection released on May 23rd of 2000 from a Detroit rapper basically messed up the entire world. And I'm going to tell you why it's my number one, but I'm going to tell you also why it's one of the greatest albums ever made. Because I didn't want to like it. It's rap. Shouldn't speak to me. And I heard it was vile, atrocity, vulgar, repulsive. He's rapping about Vicodin and killing his ex-wife and all kinds of stuff. So a friend of mine says, Mark, I got this album, you got to hear it. And I'm like, oh no, please, I don't want to hear it. He puts it in and it was, what'd you think when it was done? And it's not, it's long record. And I was like, play it again. I know there's a lot of stuff I missed. You know, Sonny sees horses and hidden trees. Talking about Sonny Bono. He's got sitting here next to Britney Spears. I mean, just he's going. It's relentless. It's probably one of the most relentless relentless albums ever made. It spares no one, even himself. You know, it's somebody said it's like just diarrhea. Just it's everywhere. It's just, and I you know, but it's freaking ridiculously intelligent. It's humorous. He is the rap version of Alice Cooper. He's multiple personality disorder, right? But is it for effect or is it the real person? Who cares? Who cares? It's hilarious in some cases. I mean, he's even using South Park. You've got Dre killing it. You've got what's his name from De La Soul producing, and then they even make fun of themselves. They even talk about how the record, when they brought it to Violet Brown, the guy told him to shove the record up his ass. So I'm not playing this, I'm not bringing it, and now it's the greatest selling rap album of all time. And probably will, you know, I say it'll never be touched, but maybe it will. I don't know.
I hope so. I hope somebody else comes along.
Yeah, I mean, his speed, his agility, and the things he did made him that. And if he would have toned it down or been not who he is,
it wouldn't be what it is.
Correct, it wouldn't be where it is. So the most dedicated lyricist of his generation, no matter what he was spewing, it was genius, it was ridiculous, it was engaging, entertaining, intentful, masterminded to mind and undermined. The beats are absolutely the best, no matter what. So that is my number one. Sue, I mean, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of, well, you know, I was just kind of looking through what else was out there. So a lot of these came up. I'll just kind of run through them and maybe, you know, because maybe it'll remind someone to go out and look and check them out. But I think I want to say Music at Work came out that year by the Hip.
Tragically. Yep.
Radiohead had one out today. Erykah Badu. I always wanted to get more into her. I just never did. But I love.
That's a very good record.
Mama's Gun. I had Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea. Johnny Cash had an album out that year. American.
Was that number 4?
Number 3, I believe.
Oh, 3. Okay, I like 4.
There might have been another one too, though, like back to back. I saw who is Jill Scott? Another person I wanted to get more into.
Great
and
record.
I like, you know, well, she's amazing and great, but I didn't want to pick it just because of that. I wanted to be authentic. The Weaker Thans, Left and Leaving.
Oh yeah.
Death Cab for Cutie. We hit the facts and we're voting yes. Calexico had one.
Yeah, is that the Rails?
Hot Rail.
Hot Rail.
Yeah. I know we listened to that a lot, but when I was going through and listening again, I wasn't connecting, so I wasn't sure that was the one I really liked. But anyway,
it's I can assure you it's not. That was where I was, because it wound up like 26 on my list. 26.
And then Emmylou Harris, Red Dirt Girl, Linkin Park had one out that came out.
Oh yeah, just a little album.
Hybrid
Hybrid
Theory.
Theory.
Um, so who else? Bare Naked Ladies had Maroon.
Hmm.
You know, that was also very good, telling stories. Tracy Chapman. Like you said, got Smashing Pumpkins had one. Wasn't too familiar with that one. Pearl Jam had one. Lifehouse. Pearl Jam had by by
Binaural.
yep. Yeah,
That's the
I
one that had what they call it, did that have sleight of hand on it, I think. Great song.
yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't remember. So these are just ones I'm
There's
gonna
a
go.
lot where I'm sitting there just going, I like that album.
Yeah.
Never gonna get anywhere near top 40, so I just left it alone.
And then yeah, so Lifehouse, I actually really like that one. No
Yeah.
name. Um, and Switchfoot, I can't remember what the album was, but they had one out, and they were another kind of cool band. Um, okay, this one, well, these
Christian
two
rock.
actually, was that Christian
Christian
rock?
rock.
Yeah. So Matchbox 20 had Mad Season, also a really good album, right?
That is their best album, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Invincible Summer, Katie Lang. Um,
Yeah. The follow-up
so
to
she's got an incredible voice too. So those are all kind of, you know, time willing. Maybe I'll
all
go
right.
back and listen through.
Yeah, I good picks. Those are all in the standard modus operandi. And those are albums you can easily find. I'll carry on with the ones that you may not know of, or so another one album wonder and wonder you may. If you want to know more about the person I'm about to speak about, you can go to our article section, Unknown Sundays. I do talk about this young woman who's was a young woman at the time, is no, she aged like the rest of us. That is Amanda Ghost Stories. Amanda Ghost Stories. It's an alt pop and dance with electronic undertones. Her vocal delivery was so fresh and exciting. She never did anything else. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. She left to run a record label. She was the
Oh,
first female record label runner.
okay. Well,
Uh,
that's pretty big.
and she also makes movies. So check it out. It's a really good record. It's kind of that you're familiar with DJ Rap in that motif and Madonna,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit huskier voice than Madonna. Does that sound right? I don't know. Maybe I'm not right on. But read the article. It'll
Yeah.
tell you more there. All right. Um, a band called Morphine. If you
Mm-hmm.
like your alt rock with saxophone, you The Night is the album. This would be the last recording, and that being sad and said and sad definitely makes us all stand up and take more notice of that which is special. What was going on was that saxophone. It was shoegaze. It was heavy bass, alternative. It is a ridiculously good record. Their entire catalog is it's got funk in it, which is something you don't kind of get in alternative rock. I would have loved to have seen them live. It never really happened. Okay, and this one's not obscure, but it's VAST,
Mm-hmm.
VAST, but it actually stands for Visual Audio Sensory Theater. This is music for the people. This is John Crosby. John Crosby was supposed to be the next Trent Reznor. He was
Yeah.
hailed it. He was on his way, and he
And then,
burned everything down.
oh no,
We saw him live at the Mohawk. Okay, now just to give you an idea, the Mohawk is
I don't
a
think I
very,
did.
you probably didn't go, no.
No.
um, very small place,
Mm-hmm.
great place for people to start their career, but not a man who should have been playing, at the level of that. And he actually, during the show, talked about his own undoing and said, I deserve to be here, kind of thing. But a great show, loud as hell. He was amazing. He deserved the accolades he got, but obviously sometimes you get into things and can't stop. But it's very industrial. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
if you go with the rest of his records too, it does climb in and out of industrial. He actually has several acoustic records that are kind of amazing and differently done. And finally, I guess I'll go down to one that surprised me, like Eminem. I didn't want to like it. Here's this guy just yelling. He's muscular. I just remember MTV and this guy and just screaming in his neck and all the veins, and that of course is the Rollins Band.
Oh yeah.
That song, Go
I know you like him.
Yeah, I saw them live and I was totally blown away. I didn't realize after all that, the vocal smash and all that, that they're really just a blues punk band. And they do it so well. And go back, experience that catalog, because there's some great stuff there. So that's Get Some, Go Again. There's all kinds of other records. I mean, it's kind of unfair that we didn't mention Madonna's Music, which I certainly believe is a very, very, very good record. That was probably where her vocals were at the best maybe they've ever been. Of course, there's Fat Boy Slim, Halfway Between the Gutter. And that, of course, that had that Christopher Walken video for
I remember that.
the name of the song off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go dark, I mean, you think Disturbed Sickness is dark? Try Marilyn Manson's Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's unapologetic for sure. So I want to thank my wife for doing this particular show, just the two of us. So again, we'll be back in 2 weeks for the year 2010. Also note tomorrow, not tomorrow, but we're coming up on album review this Saturday, where I will be talking about the end. Every album I'm going to review is actually something that has the end. It's weird. Of the last 2 weeks of entries of music, new albums, everybody's got this obsession with the end. So it's 30 Seconds to Mars, the band called Marsh. Anyway, it should be fun. And we have a catalog review show coming up in October. That'll be the 22nd. That's going to be In Excess. Please hit the like button. I won't go into the Gladiator thing like I just did a while ago, because I'm sure they turned that off the minute I started that. Give us some comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com. Thank you for watching and happy listening.
Bye.